And good evening. This is Corey Minor Smith with Corey Empowers, and we are here for the Mental Wealth Wednesday this April. April is National Fair Housing Month. It is also National Second Chance Month. So please read more information about the laws that are in place and policies that have been established to help people to have a second chance after incarceration or otherwise returning to the communities in which they have once lived to reestablish themselves with employment, education, or skills to live a productive life. And of course, with National Fair Housing Month being passed in 1968 and giving us the right to live wherever we want and can afford to live. So, learn about the protections that are in place and don't just celebrate during April, but create an opportunity to learn more about these opportunities in United States and the laws that we continue to fight to have and enforce on a daily basis. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome my guest today. This is my first time having two guests at the same time, so I really appreciate you two joining me. And I have to give myself a pat on the back for my tech skills and making this work out and figuring out how to make sure we had three people on here. But tonight we have these fine gentlemen. I'm going to let them introduce themselves as well as share a little bit about their organization and what they do. And so I'll start with Devante. Can you please tell us your full name and tell us about your founding of the Diligence Training Center?
Yes, ma'am. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having us both on here. It's truly an honor. So, Devontae Dillon, I'm the current CEO and co-founder of Dilligence Training. We're a health and wellness center based out of the state of Connecticut. We've recently won the best facility in Connecticut for the past 3 years. And I'm also the vice president of DT Cares, which is a nonprofit serving in the greater Hartford area. And we have a huge emphasis on empowering our community, especially our youth.
All right. That's great. Thank you, Devante.
Of course,
And
you're more
Terrell,
than
I
welcome.
see you smiling there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So definitely want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity, giving us a stage, but more so allowing us to share what it is that we're doing. My name is Terrell Huff. I'm the co-founder of Diligence Training, and also the president of DT Cares, our nonprofit. Something that really changed our life was in 2019, the pandemic. In a world where we're forced to live so fast, we were able to slow down. And now our mantra for our nonprofit is slow down to go fast. So that's what we're
Mm.
doing now is just, really empowering the community, focusing on empowerment, involvement, and community.
All right. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining. And I really appreciate having the opportunity to learn about the number one or wellness center or organization in Connecticut. So tell us how you got started with your Diligence Training Center and distinguish between the two. You have the DC Cares and the center. So
Yes.
how are they different and how are they connected?
So I'll start off with diligence training. So as Terrell mentioned, so the business officially started in 2019, but Terrell and I's background came from sports. So we both played football. We were fortunate enough to play at a collegiate level where we got a scholarship, and we had aspirations of playing professionally within the NFL. But once that didn't go as planned, both of us fell into a deep state of depression. So
Mm.
it's like we had to go through that identity shift of like, we were always an athlete. With being an athlete, you always had that set structure. You always had that accountability, the camaraderie of being with others. And then once that kind of, was no longer there, that was no longer our environment, it was hard for us to find our purpose because, when people only know you as that, that's almost like you embrace that. So once that wasn't there, it was a shift into the real world. So we both went on and got like different jobs just to make ends meet, but we both got to a point where it was like it wasn't fulfilling. And we're
Mhm.
both believers in God and like finding our purpose. And once we were in that deep state of depression, the only thing that literally like sparked fire and interest within us was like moving our body and working out. So overall, like health and wellness. So back when we started this, so Terrell was he'll go into depth about that, but he was currently at another establishment. And how I started it off is my mom was the first client that we had for diligence. So it's not like we started off with like a huge facility and just like hundreds of clients. We literally started off with just one person, which was, my mom. And kind of fast forward into like where we are now is like we've been 5 years in business, and now my mom is currently like employed through Diligence. So it's like she oversees like the front end and like she sets the ambiance and the experience once you come into the facility. So it's like we pride ourselves on saying that we're more than a gym because once you come into that gym, no matter what day or time it is, you're going to be greeted with high energy. So it's just like we don't know what people are dealing with before they come to our facility. So it's like we're greeting them with high energy. And then following that, we have you grab an affirmation. So we have a bucket of different quotes. So every single time you come in, you'll take a quote and you get to keep that. And then following that, we have you write on our gratitude wall. So it's like you're taking time to slow down, as Terrell says, slow down and go fast, and writing something that you're grateful for. And then you start your overall experience. So it's like we started off with just having so much passion behind like what we were doing because we knew what it felt like to hit rock bottom, but then be empowered through fitness to literally feel enlightened and feel empowered again, like for lack of better words, to the point we wanted to share that with the world. So like that's why we're so passionate about what we do because it's never about a dollar amount. It's like it's truly service and like it's so fulfilling to make an impact each and every day.
Okay. So the center and the DC Cares,
Yep. So
those
DT cares.
are
So
okay.
DT cares is short for Diligence Training Cares.
Hmm. And what do you do through DC Cares?
I'll have Terrell.
Okay.
So with that, we focus on three overall aspects that we want to hit. So it's empowerment, community, and involvement. We feel like they're all a byproduct of the other. So a lot of times people have questions, but instead of having questions, we need to be able to find the solution. So it's like you could know the what, but then people need to know the how. So we are big on going into communities that are underdeveloped or communities that just need the attention, and empowering them, from there getting the people who are the resources, because a lot of times, whether it's the state funding, town funding, schools creating programs, you need to be involved because you could create a curriculum, but if it's not something that's able to relate to the source, how are you going to be able to get the overall reach and overall outcome that you're looking for? And
Mhm.
then following that, we're big on involvement. So it's like from there, we have to make sure that the people who we're trying to reach are involved, but then the people in the community are involved. And when we
Mhm.
do that, we're now able to make everything be a byproduct of the other, and now we all have one. So with DT Cares, we work with interns, and create a farm system where essentially we have kids going through our after school programs all the way up to our high school kids who are coming in the morning to train, and then from there we have our college kids who work alongside them, and then our biggest thing, as Devontae talks about with being more than the gym, is that we are big on holding you accountable. So now it's not like you're just in the gym working, or you're at the strength and conditioning, because we have a lot of different amenities. You're meeting so many different people, so many different walks of life, that now you're networking. So now, although you started off your internship or the farm system as a kid in the elementary school, you might be able to meet someone who's a broker, and then now you're working alongside them when you come home in the
Yeah.
summer. Or one of the college athletes might meet someone who runs their mentorship program, and then now it's like, if one of the cities is Hartford, if you're from Hartford, we'll humbly remove our name from it and now name that program after you. So now again, now we're empowering you. So now we plant that seed, and now you plant the seed, and now we all get to step back and watch the harvest grow.
All right. So you mentioned, Devontae, in terms of how you all got to creating this DC training center,
Yep.
but a lot of people miss the part in the middle, right? This moment in your life, this space and time where you're not feeling your best, and you don't know what will help you to feel your best.
Right.
Um, where what did you do in between your downtime and then ultimately finding out that physical movement, fitness is something that helped to elevate you?
So I think that's a great question. And I really enjoy answering this question because I feel as though it's so uncomfortable, but it's necessary. So I had to look myself in the mirror and ask myself, like, what do I want? Like, what do I want out of life? And I think oftentimes, people can be going nowhere fast because you have never even taken time to visualize what does success look like for you or like what makes you happy. And I don't think many people even know that. So it's like you could be missing out on blessings and opportunities along the way because you don't know where that is or what that looks like. So for me, I had to truly slow down and ask myself, like, what am I really doing? Like, what's my purpose? And like, once I was able to see that my purpose and calling in life, and I know for a fact it is to empower people. It's like I truly feel fulfilled, and I know that if I can make an impact on one person per day, like I've done my job. So it's like that's the mindset that I have each and every day. Is like, how could I make someone's day better? And that could be simply like complimenting people, or that could be through physical fitness. Like there's so many ways in which that I know I could provide value to somebody. And they may not say it in the moment, but you can just tell off of like nonverbal communication sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, it was like really taking time to slow down and look myself in the mirror and ask like, what is it that I really want?
Wow. And how about you, Terrell?
I would say is really taking time to overall find your why, because I feel like a lot of times in life we're forced to go fast with today's society of instant gratification and just being able to just have the tangible things so quick. And from there, when I was able to find my why, I was able to find my passion. And now the biggest thing that I live by is like each day that I wake up, I know that I'm serving my purpose as I walk in my passion. So it's not like anytime I'm getting tired or anytime I feel the exhaustion of the hours that we're working per week, because every day I truly feel like I'm serving. I truly feel my purpose. I truly get that fulfillment of my cup overflowing in abundance. And so many people are pouring their cup, putting their cup next to me. So I'm able to pour into them without taking anything out of myself. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I'm overflowing as I pour into myself. So now I'm
Mm-hmm.
being able to be that person for those around me. And that's just never ending. It's so rewarding that it's something that I look forward to every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is great to find that part of life and hold on to it and then share it with other people so that they can learn how to have that same kind of fulfillment in their own lives. So I really now have a greater appreciation for what you all mentioned in terms of slowing down, because
Exactly.
Yes.
sometimes we don't want to do that, right? Or we may
Yes.
be upset with ourselves because we're not feeling our best and we don't feel like doing anything. But it's important that we embrace those moments and
Mm-hmm.
appreciate them and allow ourselves to rest or to process our thoughts and not always look at that as a negative thing. But with life, there comes stress. I'm sure with starting
Mm-hmm.
your business, maintaining your business for 5 years now, there is stress. How do you
Absolutely.
both deal with the stressors that come about, not just in your personal lives, but also running a nonprofit and a business?
So I would say the biggest thing with that it took me, I would say we started the business hitting rock bottom, because it's like, we hit rock bottom. It's like all I could do is go up.
Mm,
Now, just to be fully transparent, I would say I'm recently within the past year finding balance.
mm,
And I realize now in life, you can have it all, but have nothing at all if you don't have balance. So, like, you could work more hours, make more money, but if you don't have balance, you're losing your family, you're losing your loved ones. So, like,
mm,
you need to have balance. And the biggest thing that you need to do to have balance is understand that human nature is four dimensional. So, with you being four dimensional, you need to be able to pour into yourself mentally, you need to be able to pour into your heart, you need to be able to pour into your spirit, and you need to be able to pour into your physical. And it goes back to what you said earlier, that understand that every day 100% is going to look a little different, but it's still 100%. So it's like as long as I got one of those four dimensions that I just mentioned done, then I'm good. So it's like a physical doesn't always mean working out. I could have just gone on a walk.
mm,
My mental doesn't always mean that I sat down and read today, but I might have listened to a podcast. So
mhm,
it's like creating that balance is going to allow you to give yourself grace through the process, because you're going to get to a point in life where when you develop inner peace, it's never the destination that you're chasing, it's the journey. And you have to understand that as a human, you have to constantly be becoming,
mm.
but
Mm-hmm.
also be so grounded that you're present where you are.
Wow. You want to add to that, Devante?
I'll be honest. That's like an answer that Tro and I both are like on the same page, and like it's like a non-negotiable that we've established amongst our boundary and our environment. So now he hit it spot on.
Okay. So with that, those who may still be at bottom and don't know how to rise from
Right.
their rock bottom, or wherever we may give us a grade for our status and where we are with our health and wellness. What do you say, or what do you offer in terms of helping people to become healthier than they are? Whether they're at the bottom, if
Mhm.
they're in the middle and they want to go higher, or maintaining if they feel that they're at their highest height of health.
So I would say so within our program. So regardless of someone's like background, like let's say somebody has like experience of training for 10 plus years, like we always start off with a consultation process. So it's a way for us to meet with you one on one, and then we have you fill out a questionnaire form. So
Mhm.
within the questionnaire form, you're not just filling out your general information. We're asking like intentional questions. So like we ask three main questions. So the first is like, what's your short term goal? So like what's your 1 month to 6 month goal that you want to achieve for yourself? And then from there, we say, what's your long term goal? What's like 6 months to a year plus? Like, what does that goal look like? And then the third one is like, what's your why? Like, what brings you to the gym? Like, what brings you here? And then
Mhm.
once we get, information and context on that, now we're really able to cultivate an experience where it's more than a workout. And it's like, now it's like, let's say, Corey, you're having like a tough time or a hard week. And we're like, all right, I know you're facing adversity. Give yourself grace, but let's remember your why. And at that point, it's like it's more than you just coming to the gym to get the workout. It's like you know that discipline is taking over because you know that promise that you made to yourself and made to the health professional that you met with one on one. And it's like after we go through that, we have a machine that's called an in-body scan. So, are you familiar with an in-body scan at all?
I don't know. I have done different types of scans, and I'm thinking of a one that I did at there's a a mental health gym in
Yep.
Detroit that I did. And I think that might be it, but please
Mhm.
explain it to me.
Yeah, no, no problem at all. So we're one of 12 facilities in the whole Northeast region with this make and model. So
Mm,
think of it as like a more advanced scale, but less intimidating. And what I mean by that is like the scale ultimately goes beyond the weight. So it's like
mhm,
oftentimes people get easily discouraged, like if they see like what their weight is. So rather than us, highlighting their weight, there's different metrics that we highlight. So like we can see an area on the scan that shows visceral fat, and that's like the fat that surrounds our organs, and that is essentially an indicator for like high blood pressure, diabetes, and other heart related concerns. Because people could look healthy externally, but internally have things that's like causing premature deaths. So it's
right.
like now when we highlight that, there's three simple things that really help decrease that. So it's like movement, proper nutrition, and then stress levels. So those are all three things that we empower people on. And it's like as that visceral fat decreases by the week and by the month, you're literally adding on days, months, and years to your life. So that's
Mm,
one aspect of the in-body scan. And now the second aspect is like there's an area that we can see if you have any imbalances. So like let's say somebody's having like lower back pain or like chronic joint pains. We can see like if they favor their left side over their right. And now within their program, we can help balance that out. Now it
mm,
improves their quality of life. So now when they're walking out, they're not limping. They're walking straight up. When they're sitting at a desk, they're not hunched over, proud chest. So it's like we teach people so many ways that they can um, implement what they do inside of our facility outside on their own. Because if you can't maintain your health without me being in front of you, I'm doing you a disservice. So
right.
our thing that we call is like education through movement. So that's why we say we're more than a gym. It's like if we can plant the seed to you and empower you, and you can pass that on to your friends and family, now everybody can speak the same verbiage, same language, and we improve the quality of life of our community.
That
So
I really appreciate that. And there should be the opportunity for anyone to be able to invest in their health, their overall health, physical
yes,
and mental health. But nutrition, I heard nutrition is one of the elements to helping someone to get on a healthier path.
yes.
What do you do for communities that are lacking opportunities or access to nutrition, and stores that have nutritious foods that are in a
Mhm.
reasonable distance from where they live?
Right. So I would say so there's two ways that we provide value from a nutrition lens. So part of what we do and with Terrell overseeing DT Cares is every Saturday we have community Saturdays where all of our services are free. So the community, they can come to our facility and like try out a class. And then from there we have healthy alternatives with like protein shakes, acai bowls, and like overnight oats. So like we have all of that encompassed within our wellness center. And then I
Mhm.
would say also too is like we provide nutrition plans. So it's like somebody will come in and they'll let us know, like, hey, I struggle with just having like the discipline to eat the right things. Like I know that I can do it, but I just don't know where to start. From there, we make it very digestible, where it's like we have you fill out a questionnaire form so we know like if you're allergic to anything. And then from there, we provide like, hey, this is what you're gonna eat for your breakfast, your first snack, lunch, second snack, and then your dinner. So it's like we eliminate that decision fatigue for people. That's where we make it very simplified. And as I said, based on their in-body scan, we can make the plan correlate exactly to what they need. Because oftentimes what happens is like people don't realize how dense in calories certain foods are. So
Yeah.
believe it or not, like let's say, the average human is supposed to eat about 2,000 calories per day. If they go to a fast food restaurant, that one meal is probably 2,000 a day. So in addition to all the other meals that they have, that's how people gain weight because you're eating more than what your body needs. So
Mhm.
one of our concepts that we have is like we say eat for fuel, not for comfort. And when
Right.
you can shift that, then it's like, okay, I'm not eating to get full. I'm just eating just so I can like satisfy myself and continue with what I need to do throughout my day. So
Yeah.
like our biggest thing, it goes back to what I said, is we like to educate our community just so they can build this into a lifestyle.
That's important. All of us need more education in terms of food, and I just read today about the effort to have more artificial meat to be accepted. And we see in other countries that certain foods that are easily accessible here in the United States are being
Mhm.
banned, whether it's because of the food coloring or the types of chemicals that are
Right.
used to preserve or sweeten the food. If we don't know that, we'll continue to consume the food because we
Exactly.
grew up eating it. So how
Exactly.
do you bust that up?
So I think that's a great statement and question because I think sometimes we are so stuck in like generational, this is my norm, this is what I'm so used to. And sometimes it could be uncomfortable because it's like, let's say you're following like a meal plan and then you're going to like family functions and you see all the comfort foods that you're used to, and now people in your family are like, why are you eating this? Or like, oh, look at this person eating this. Like, but I think a part of it is like you have to understand that like if you want change, you have to do something you haven't done before. So it's like
Mm,
it's gonna be uncomfortable, but now that you know better, you have to do better. So at the end of the day, like we can't, force people to, eat certain things, but we can do our best to like educate them.
yeah, that's important. Um, okay, so with adolescents that you are working with now,
Mhm.
you have through your youth played football. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you're working with youth now. How do
Mhm.
you relate to the youth that you're working with, and those who may not have played any sports, but you have maybe a athlete's mentality?
Yep.
You talked about the discipline and things of that nature, and all of us are not raised the same way and have that
Yep.
level of discipline. How do you address that with those that you help? Do you all hear that feedback? I'm not sure what's going on right now. Sorry.
So if you want to take lead on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say our biggest thing is keeping it simple, but also keeping like the main thing. So it's like the same way when we're working in the gym, how we start off with a consultation. We won't start a program with any district that we're working with, any corporation that we're working with until we learn that environment. Because as you just mentioned, the biggest thing is it doesn't matter what level of education I have. I need to be able to regurgitate it to that community that I'm speaking to so they're able to be receptive to it. But I also need to be able to learn their environment so I can figure out triggers and things that they like that's going to grab their attention so that way I can hold on to their attention. So it's like as I go to different demographics, as I go to different backgrounds, as I go to different communities, I need to be able to know this is the music that I'm playing. This is the, dress code that I'm going to wear. Cause it's like our biggest thing is, there's no such thing as the norm. People just go to this. Why can't we make the new standard? And that's what we live by. So it's like, I'm not going to always go to a function and have a polo on or a shirt and tie. It's like, I might pull up at this function and, I'm going to have the off whites, the jeans, the t-shirt. I got to let the kids know, look, I do this just like you, but we got to know how to turn it on and off.
Right.
So the biggest thing is allowing people to not only feel heard, because that's the big thing. A lot of people want to be heard, but communication lacks because either they don't know how to communicate the emotions that they're trying to say, or they don't feel understood. So we take pride, but also time in providing that quality service by understanding our environment so we could then deliver the best product. And that's going to come from the experience.
So is this a part of your identity shifting? Would you
Yeah.
consider that, or is that a different concept?
Absolutely. So I would say is like I would say we're a lot like water. It's like, water is going to form to any shape that it's in.
Right.
You put it in a cup of squares, like, I'm going to form to that. While at the same time, once, we grab your attention and we have that understanding where that bond is essentially met, we also want you to be unique and also be yourself. So
Right.
it's like I'm not switching to the sense where I'm losing myself. I'm
Right.
allowing myself to conform to my environment while still extracting everything that I have as an individual to stand out within that environment. So it's like, again, it goes back to what we said earlier with the three factors that we look for in our nonprofit. It's empowerment, involvement, community. So it's like I'm gonna get down to your level where me and you have that eye to eye and you have that trust with me now, but I'm still gonna plant that seed for you to be a leader, so then you could go plant the seed somewhere else.
And how did your younger years help to shape your ability to do that, the shifting that's needed for whatever environment, as well as how you're able to build your business based on things that you may have experienced growing up, including your football careers?
Um, I would say, for me, it's like I'm a biracial baby, so it's like I wasn't black enough for the black crowd, wasn't white enough for the white crowd, and I wasn't, Latino enough for that crowd. So it's like I was always more so like, like a unicorn in the sense of like, okay, where do I navigate? But it's like, growing up in the environment that we grew up in, Windsor, Connecticut, it's one of the most diverse towns in the state, as well as, in the nation. So it was like I was able to see so many different demographics and be around so many different people while also being in the same environment. And I didn't realize the blessing that that came with until I went to college. And then now I'm in college, and I'm like, wow, like I could see a lot of people feel uncomfortable in this room, or a lot of people don't know how to. Okay, we just left football practice. Let me turn it on because now I'm doing, a presentation in class. But I was the cool kid, but now all of a sudden you shy speaking in front of your peers. So it's like that was such a blessing that I also understand how that could be uncomfortable for, different kids, whether that's from the inner city or suburbs. So that's why we're so big on dialing it back and putting people in a position to win. So now they're empowered. Now they have that confidence, and then now they're able to step into the room and they control the temperature.
Mm. Devontae, what do you have to add?
So I would say for me, so in addition to what Terrell said is like one of our mantras for our nonprofit, another one that we have is to be who you needed growing up. And when I say that, so I think of myself when I was an adolescent, like let's say like middle school, right? So I was somebody who wasn't rich materialistically, but I was rich off of love. So my mom definitely instilled like certain morals and principles within me that I still hold close to this day. And two things for sure is like integrity and character. So those are two things that are non-negotiable and like I truly live by. And now that's the core foundation of diligence. So it's just like Terrell and I are very conscientious of just who we bring in our environment because at the end of the day, our name is all we got. So if people don't pass that test, it doesn't matter what credentials you have, what certifications, or what you have done in your past. Like if those two things don't get checked off to the list, that's something that we just won't budge on. So while speaking to the youth, that's something that we really instill in them because I was somebody who was like the person in the back of the classroom. I wasn't really going to speak unless I was called on. But knowing what I know now, like sometimes I wish I spoke up a little bit more for myself because it's like you'll miss out on opportunities, as they say, like closed mouths don't get fed. So it's like I encourage, these youth nowadays, like you really have greatness within you, but it's gonna be on you to tap into that. So it's like it's really just speaking life into them, as Terrell said, is like making sure that you have buy-in from them because you can say, all the fancy words or show them fancy things, but they're not truly engaged in what you're talking about. It's in one ear and out the other. So like we really put an emphasis on making sure that we identify ways that we can like grasp their attention, and then from there, like sustain and maintain their attention.
Yeah, that's really, really important. When you have a youth or youth that are struggling, um, how do you identify that? And can you identify that? And then what do you do to help the youth, whether you have the resources in your center or able to connect them with resources that are in your network?
So I would say one thing that I've learned with working with the youth is like sometimes they'll act out because they don't know how to express themselves. So it's like just because a kid is acting up in class, you can't just rule them out
Mhm.
and say like, all right, you're off to the side. It's like maybe he doesn't know how to express himself, and like that's him asking for help. So it's like that's one thing that Troll and I have noticed is like we go into every environment open minded. Like just because somebody tells like you got to watch out for this kid, that kid, like no, I'm gonna give him the level playing ground, and I want to get to know you at a root. So it's like from there, it's like once I get to know you, I'm like, all right, you're a good kid, but you just need some guidance. You need some structure. You
Mhm.
need somebody to tell you, like, hey, man, like you're more than enough. Like you can do this. Like sometimes people have never had somebody say, like, I'm proud of you or like you're doing well. So it's like oftentimes, like people may not know what these kids go back home and deal with and face. And like they may
Mhm.
be coming to school already like in shamble, anxious. So it's like we really, as I said
Hungry.
before, hungry, like
Mhm.
seriously. So it's like taking time to get to know these kids and know what's the root of why you're acting that way. And let's try to work on that opposed to us reacting to how they're doing. So it's like another concept that we have is like we have to shift the mindset of being like proactive versus reactive. So the
Mhm.
proactiveness allows us to like slow down to see what they have going on, just that we're not actually reacting when something happens.
So with this whole slowdown, what do you think is a reasonable time to allow yourself to slow down?
I would say it looks different for everybody. Like I know for speaking for myself, so it's like I'm also huge on like time management. So it's like I map out my day like by the hour and like break it down. So within that, I also give myself the period to do nothing. So I allot like 15 to 30 minutes to just slow down and just get like in tune with myself, get grounded.
Mhm.
So it's all contingent upon like what someone's 24 hours look like. But I would say there's no right or wrong.
How about you, Terrell?
I would say it's the same thing. So it's like we focused on three factors: just creating your standard, your non-negotiables, and your boundaries. So it's like you have to figure out what that standard is, and then nothing can be compromised for that. From there, you have to have boundaries, and the boundaries could be with yourself, they could be with friends, they could be with family, they could be with loved ones.
All right.
Meaning, like, hey, if I know at 6 o'clock, using that hour to just decompress, I can't at 6 o'clock go to the family dinner because that is my boundary. That is my
Right.
boundary. And then from there, you just have to draw a line in the sand with your life, what your non-negotiables are, and then from there you have to stand on that because if you don't teach people how to treat you, people will push as far as you allow, and you have to understand that in a world that's moving so fast, they don't even mean any harm when they're crossing that non-negotiable, but it's because you're not allowing them. So it's like a kid. You got the way that I look at it is like we're all just kids. We have to understand that we need love, empathy, and time.
Mhm.
So with that, if you tell a kid the stove is hot, they still want to touch the stove to see how hot it is. So if I tell you this is my non-negotiable, but I don't stand on it when you cross it, you're gonna keep pushing it like they usually let me do this.
Right.
So
Mhm.
it's uncomfortable, but we have to truly figure out what our standard is, what our boundaries are, and our non-negotiables, and then from there, we'll be able to create balance. We'll be able to slow down, and we'll be able to understand 100% truly looks different every day, but it's still 100%.
Those sound like three strong elements, and it seems like it would take some time to just even learn to make those a part of your life. So in reality, how long did it take you to come up with those three elements to find them to be essential in establishing structure in your life and creating that opportunity and space for you to have your periods of slowing down?
So I'll go first. I'll say that we're gonna be 5 years in business, June 19th. I would say the first 2 years, just truly making it shake, just living life. Like
Survival.
I'm gonna figure it out. And as Devontae just mentioned, like I think people aren't conscious, but we're all, for the most part, living in survival mode, just going and doing.
Yeah.
So I was doing so much that I was really doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So the past 3 years, ironically, I truly had to spend time alone to figure out who I am, what it is I want, and then going to live intentional about what I want. And I've just started that. So with that, living intentional, I've then came up with Devonte of, okay, if we're gonna live intentional, I need to have a standard. I need to have boundaries in my non-negotiable. So I would say, as I mentioned, to start this whole thing is just the journey and understand like you're constantly becoming and you're constantly redefining yourself. And we had the pleasure of speaking with prisons across the state of Connecticut. And, one of the inmates said something that was so profound is like, don't judge me off the chapter of my life you walked in on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as I'm constantly redefining myself, as I'm constantly creating new standards, new boundaries, new non-negotiables, it's like, you have to understand that I'm not the person who you met me as, and my price yesterday is not the price today. So it's like I'm okay with, and you have to be okay with understanding you're not for everyone.
Right.
So Devonte, with those three elements, and talking to someone who's hearing those three things for the first time, how would you recommend or suggest that they apply them to their lives?
So
Someone who has no discipline, no structure,
Right.
trying to get everything done, and that's what they want to focus on, getting everything done in the
Right.
waking hours that they have.
Right. So there's two practices that I will implement to aid that. So as I said, with just like the time management mentality that I really believe in is like taking time to write out what does your day actually look like. And then from there, you'll notice that there's certain periods that you aren't being efficient or periods that you could be doing X, Y, and Z, or you're spending too much time doing something. And then the second thing I would say too is like to cap off your night. I truly believe in like journaling. So it's like expressing how you actually feel. And then from there, you'll start to notice like certain trends. If there's certain things that's been triggering you or certain things that you notice are just like not sitting right with you. So I feel like by taking like those two approaches, you'll identify and cultivate an environment of like, all right, I'm noticing that this doesn't work, that doesn't work. So now you're creating like certain standards for yourself. And then with time, you'll notice that, all right, I seen that I did this every single day, and this helped me have a better day. I seen whenever I did this, this allowed me to feel like anxious throughout my whole entire day. So now it's like anyone that's pulling in that anxious feeling, they're doing too much within your boundary. So it's like I feel like by taking like those two approaches, slowly but surely, as Terrell said, is like that 100% is going to look different every day. But as you give yourself grace throughout the journey, you'll start to build that non-negotiable, the standard, and the boundary.
That's very, very important. I'm speaking, from my, I would say, prior years, because I have learned to slow down. That was something I did not appreciate at all, slowing down.
Right.
I felt like I was being unproductive and
Yes. Yep.
just not accomplishing anything. I feel I'm very goal oriented. And so if I was not doing something to work towards a goal,
Right.
that ruined my day.
Right. And I agree too. I think it's one of the, it's like, it's very deceiving because it's like, while I'm resting, I feel like I could be doing something or I should be doing something. But I think it goes back to that time management. Is like when you can allocate time to like rest and like relax, you'll see that, all right, yes, I did rest and relax, but I still got X, Y, and Z. Now I got 7 things done throughout the day. So now it's like you're feeling more accomplished because you actually can see what actually got done.
Right. And, I heard the word from one of you, or maybe both of you have said it at this point, but grace.
Yep.
I don't think we as humans fully appreciate the word grace and how to apply it to our lives and to allow ourselves to give ourselves grace.
Right.
So, for example, not finishing your to-do list in a day. Give yourself grace. Like you said, you got 7 of the 20 things done. Appreciate that.
Literally.
But it does take time. And that's why I wanted you both to respond in terms of what is that time? Because a person like me would feel like during that time, I didn't do enough to slow down.
Right. Okay.
or
I
I
mean,
didn't give
that's
myself
valid.
long enough to slow down, or I don't have time to give myself more time to slow down because I have things to do.
Right.
And
No,
that
I
can be
that's
stressful.
understand that. That's true.
Right.
That's a valid point.
So I encourage people to find different resources in their communities to help.
Mhm.
I focus on severe mental illness, but everyday life for those, whether you have a mental health condition or not,
Mhm.
it's important to know the things that we can do to live healthier, stronger lives, and not just our physical health, but our mental health, which they're all connected. So through your organization with the training, as well as with the DC Cares. You're doing tremendous work and helping people at younger ages, which is important as well. So
Mhm.
through your 5 years, 5 years strong, that is great. You know, what is the average time for a new business? They say after you make it, what, 2 years?
Yeah,
Then
2
you
years
have a
is
better
the
chance
average.
of succeeding. So I commend you on making it 5 years, and you all are going strong, and you have your boundaries in place, you know your standards, and you are staying within those things so that you know your business can grow and sustain itself. So
Mhm.
with all of that, I would love for you both to provide your top three suggestions for others who are trying to shift in their lives, who are shifting their careers, who are shifting what they thought would be their life, or just trying to understand what could be ahead for them.
Mhm. Tori, you want to go first for me?
I'll go first. I would say to really just understand, like, you have to give yourself access to reach your full potential. And
Mm,
when you give yourself access to reach your full potential, you'll understand that, you owe you. And it's like, you can't, you have a lot of people look in the mirror and don't even see who they are. But look in the mirror and understand, like, you owe that little boy or that little girl everything that it is that you dream of. And it's never too late. A lot of people have to understand, like, it takes one choice, one opportunity, one decision for your whole life to change. So why not today and why not you?
mm,
Mhm.
like that.
So I would say my response to that is like I would say first thing first is like someone that wants to embark on like a new journey or a new path, or whether it's like starting a new business, I would say first starting off with just like a plan. So it's like rather than just doing things, in the dark, it's like have an idea of like as I said, like visualization. So like what does success look like you for 1 year down the line? And you can map it out to 2 3 years, and then I would say from there is like get support, and that could be a mentor, that could be people around you who have done what you want to do. I
Mhm,
think one thing that Terrell and I have both learned and with working with each other is like you can't have ego. It's
mm,
like especially when it comes to like growth, because there's something that he will do phenomenal that I can't do, and then it's like vice versa. But it's like if I don't put ego aside, it's like I'm crippling the both of us. So it's
mm,
like we truly believe in like collaboration over competition, because both of us would be good on our own, but together, it's a greater force. So it's like just really being like having humility behind like what we're doing. And then I would say the third thing too is like find something that you're passionate about, because at some point motivation will not be there. And then it's gonna come down to that why, as like Terrell said before, is like when times get hard, it's gonna fall back on like your habits and discipline. Like
mm,
motivation will not always be there. So I think with having, those three things, you can succeed literally with anything that you do in life. And I think sometimes that's where people have challenges. It's like I feel like we overcomplicate life, where it's like it's not saying life is not complicated, but it's like if you really get to like the fundamental and the foundations of like what helps you grow and like keeps you finding like peace in the midst of chaos, I feel like we can weather any storm.
wow. So I really appreciate both of your responses. And before we close out, another word that I've heard from both of you in terms of why, knowing your why. What is your why?
Like, as far as what is my personal why?
Well, thank you for distinguishing. So you have the choice: your personal, your business, your community efforts. What is your why? And it could all be that connected by one thing.
All right.
Yeah, so I would say, speaking on my behalf, and then Devontae as well. I would say for me, coming from my background, coming from my family, coming from my situation, I truly didn't have anything. I always wanted the opportunity. I always, um, just wanted to be able to. So for me, my why is being who I needed growing up. So it's like, being there for these kids, speaking life into them. As far as in the gym, people say all the time, like, oh my God, you changed my life. It's like, I didn't change your life. I just allowed you to see the best version of you.
Mm.
And I would say, as far as like me waking up every day, my why is understanding my purpose. And like my purpose is to extract the best out of people. So it's like I look at myself as water, meaning that I'm gonna form to any environment, but I look at myself as like a vessel and being a mirror. And when people look in the mirror, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, allowing them to see who they are. Because I feel like as a visionary, I look at people and I see the potential in them, and now I just speak life into them and help them create the sustainable habits for them to reach their full potential and give themselves access. So it's like my why is so much bigger than me. So when I'm down, when I'm tired, it's just crazy that God will, have somebody reach out to me like, hey, you did this, and it really just changed my life. So it's like, how could I stop, as Devontae always says, when I motivate people not to?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That is so important because a lot of people can't see anything for themselves beyond their circumstances, beyond their neighborhood, beyond the situation that they've seen, family members go through. So I truly appreciate you allowing God to use you as a vessel, as a mirror, and someone to pour into to others so that they can see their potential and what they're able to accomplish in life. Devontae, how about you?
So I would say so it's twofold. So I would say, before starting the business, my why with just anything I did in my life was truly just to give back to my mom. So it's just like knowing how much she sacrificed for
Mm.
me, throughout all the years. It's like I could never pay that back. So it's just like my why is to just like provide her a quality of life, which we have been able to do. And it's like she's been there in Terrell's life as well. It's just like now it's like with her being a part of the company, it's like she brings a whole new dynamic to the brand where it's like she brings that mom feel, that home feel.
Yeah.
So it's like now we have her, working out consistently and like have her on the meal plan. So it's like we're providing so much value to her. And like that is a fulfillment where it's like our goal is to continue to sustain that. So like we have, younger siblings, whether that's nieces and nephews, and like truly just showing them that like, hey, like all of this is possible, and the goal is to be able to pass something down generational. So it's like in my family, I would say is like I didn't have anybody to model like, hey, they just started a business. This is what I want to do. So it's like I want to leave a legacy as to where like my family can look back and be like, this is something that they started and this is something that we can continue to carry. And then it kind of goes back to what Terrell said is like the mantra of being who you needed growing up. So it's like truly just planting so many seeds and like all the youth that we can. Because when we were their age, is like I truly wish I had somebody speaking to me from the lens, like from an athletic standpoint. It's like, hey, Devonta, if you don't go to the NFL, you're not a failure. Because
Mhm.
as we talk about mental health, is like it sounds crazy, but it could have been couple hours and I would not be here today. But it's
Mm.
just like I just had that, that protection from God to allow me to see that through. But it's like I know if I can continue to like push that message, we could be saving so many lives by the day.
Generational wealth on
Absolutely.
so many levels, on so many levels. I
Yes.
commend you both on what you're doing, what you want to do, and for upholding your whys.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
and as we close, I would love for you to share how people can connect, learn more about your organization, your business, and the two of you individually. How can they follow you on social media?
So I would say on all of our social media platforms. So Diligence Training. So it'd be the same Diligence Training spelled out. That's also our website. And then for DT Cares, the same thing on LinkedIn, Instagram, and the website is dtcares.org. And then my personal social media is going to be my first name, last name. And then Instagram is D Dilly with the underscore.
Okay.
And then I would say for me, just understanding when you're spelling diligence that it's a play on words. So instead of one L,
Mhm.
it's two L's. And then on all social media, my name is Terrell Huff. I'm big on Twitter, love sharing my emotions. And then Instagram is TH4 Era. It's Terrell Huff. four, as is the body's four-dimensional, mind, body, spirit, heart. And then era, just, trying to tell the world, like, this is our era. Why not you?
All right. Well, I'll be sure to also put that in the caption for this video. Want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who tuned in for this session of Mental Wealth Wednesday, and hope that this information is resourceful for you. I encourage you to learn more about Dilligence Training Center and DC Cares, and of course, more about Devontae and Terrell, and encourage them so that they can continue to encourage others. Thank you guys for joining me. It's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. I look forward to staying in touch and look forward to sharing more information about your organization and the great things you all are doing in Connecticut. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Bye-bye.
You take care now.